us all here, and it's Our Way, Our Wealth. This happens every weekend on both Saturday and Sunday, just 30 minutes of chat. Either it's me chatting or I'm chatting to a guest. And today I'm expecting a guest, a guy called Andy Barker, who has some amazing insights into leadership and travels around the world sorting companies out with their teams and so on. But I haven't heard from him recently, so I'm not sure if he'll make it. The connection is maybe not so good tonight. But anyway, if he turns up, super, we'll get started. But to begin with, let me welcome LinkedIn members and YouTube participants, because I'm streaming live to both of those things. And in fact, this week is important for me because I'm going to be talking about one of the most important topics in your life. We don't know very much about it, but it is essential for good health and success and so on. And the topic is inflammation. And this is a human tendency that we really can't go on ignoring. It's part of our evolution, it seems, and scientists say that, really, yes, there's a fire inside us, but not always a good kind of fire. And it can affect your joints, sometimes the gut, behind the eyes, and in the brain, so that we feel tired. Whereas other times it roars in our tempers, our timelines, and our tangled minds. So we can find ourselves in conflict with partners and so on. And this is all to do with inflammation, which is an extraordinary thing. And it's not just a medical condition. Doctors will try and persuade you of that, mainstream doctors, but I'm not a mainstream doctor. I'm a natural health practitioner. I'm a body worker. I'm an embodiment mentor. So although I respect the mainstream medical work, it's not always the answer. And I've really found that with my own clients over the years. If there's a diagnosis and treatment is suggested, it doesn't always work, because in truth, mainstream practitioners are looking at a very small part of the ear of an elephant. They specialize in one tiny aspect. If you talk to a general practitioner, that's different, but then they will refer you to someone who really does look at a tiny part of the elephant's ear. They don't see the whole body. They don't even take life considerations into account. So, yeah, I've experienced throughout my alternative practitioner years, I've experienced a lot of conflict with mainstream medics. And today I'd like to just briefly outline the truth, okay? You can always count on the truth here on Our Way, Our Wealth. So, as you know from previous broadcasts and my writing and so on, the body is my territory. And I believe that transformation, all transformation, starts inside the body. And that's why I've spent the last 30 years working with the body in various ways. And now I want to share that with all of you. Inflammation is an extraordinary problem, and you may not even know much about it. But really, it's the immune system's defense mechanism. And it's how the body responds to harm, injury, infection, and perceived threat. Yeah. And there are two types of inflammation. Don't expect you to get all this in one go, but I'll be writing about it, so don't worry. But if you want time to grab a pen and write this down or type it into your phone, there are two types of inflammation. There is acute inflammation. This is short term and it is protective. So, yeah, maybe your ankle swells after a sprain, or a fever burns because of a virus, and the body inflames in some way. That's acute inflammation. But then there is chronic inflammation, and this is the body's slow burning SOS. It's activated not just by pathogens, but by stress, processed food, toxins, emotional repression, unresolved trauma, or even poor sleep. And nowadays, researchers tell us, the latest research tells us that it's linked to almost every kind of modern illness: cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, depression, autoimmune disorders, gut dysfunction, cancer, the big C. But it's often invisible. So in my work, this is where science meets the spirit, because inflammation begins, as I've mentioned, when the body believes is under siege. And in the age of chronic urgency, which I believe we're in, internalized pressure, disconnected ways of living, our nervous systems are primed for war. The stress response doesn't shut off easily. The breath stays shallow. The posture collapses forward. The cells are drowned in cortisol, and the heart closes. And this is the reality of this chronic urgency. And that's why so many aging people suffer strokes and cardiovascular problems, heart attacks, and so on, because their bodies are under siege and they've done nothing about it. And mainstream medicine will do nothing about it. It may give you strong drugs to thin your blood or whatever, but it doesn't really help. And all of those strong drugs have their own side effects. So this is not just a lifestyle issue. It's the fact that we are disconnected from our natural state. Of course we are. We reinvented the world in our likeness. We live below what I call the poison of roofs and windows and walls. We rarely go outside. Some of us, it may be pollution that prevents us. It could be insects. For example, in Japan, where I live, people are terrified of insects, and so they don't go out very often. In the breeding season for biting insects like mosquitoes and so on. And of course, there's a history there. Japan has had a lot of problems with terrible infections from insect bites and so on and so forth. So, yeah, most of us live really estranged from nature. I believe many people think they can do better than nature. Our lives are full of images and words, which are symbols, which hide the reality. And very few people are willing to go away from those symbols. But symbols are symbols. They are not reality. They represent something else. And not many people are willing to explore that. So let's look at some of the symptoms of chronic inflammation. And these are often missed. And I can tell you many stories about this. And especially people who think they're really fit, they go to the gym, they eat organic food, they do all sorts of things to try and ensure their health. But that model of health is not accurate. No, it's not. We need to go much deeper than that. It's not a question of exercise only. It's not a question of eating the right things. There's a huge spiritual element to this, and also a mental element to it. So let's look at some of these symptoms. Maybe you feel persistent fatigue. Some people report burnout, and that is becoming a syndrome. Burnout implying that we have no energy, that the flame of our lives is out. It's a bit dramatic in my book, and I don't believe it's a syndrome. I believe it's a phase. But yeah, if you're constantly feeling tired, there's something wrong. Yeah. You may have skin irritation, rashes, acne, unexplainable, undiagnosable skin problems. You may experience joint pain or even stiffness. There could be gut issues. These are things like bloating, irritable bowel syndrome, and constipation. This is all to do with the body inflaming, swelling, okay, as a defense to your lifestyle, perhaps. And that's why when we visit the doctor, we have to fill in a form. The mainstream doctor will fill in a form to tell him or her about our lifestyle. Okay. Maybe your weight is really changing. Maybe you're gaining weight for no reason or losing it. Maybe you have mood disorders, anxiety, depression, irritability. You might have recurrent infections, or you might be slow to heal, especially if you're getting older. Sleep disturbance is another big indicator. And you may just be feeling generally desperate, overwhelmed, urgent. You may have a feeling of doom or dread. And yeah, these are very common symptoms of inflammation. And we think it's all psychological. I can assure you it's not. And I can also provide many ways to prevent this. But instead of looking at these as symptoms which indicate there is a disease, let's reframe that. And instead of symptoms, let's say signals. It's not just about, problems in the tissue, but it's problems in life. Yeah. So it's really a blessing in disguise in many ways, though it can be very uncomfortable. But really, inflammation invites we humans to cool the inner fire. That's what inflammation can be seen as, a kind of inner fire. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we are not at war, but it may seem like that. And so we need to step back from that sense of war and fighting, internal war. You could ask yourselves these questions. What am I constantly defending against? Who told me I have to fight this hard? And where have I turned away from my body's wisdom? And this is the last, most important question of all. The body never lies. The body is perpetually true. And yet we ignore it. we shelve it, we push it aside. And if only we embraced it, then we could benefit hugely from its wisdom. So, if you want to heal inflammation, so, I can feel you pricking up your ears here and thinking, yes, maybe I've got some of these symptoms, maybe I'm feeling desperate. Other possible signals are sore mouth, gum soreness, or little infections in the mouth. You may have sinus infection too. These are common. The immune system is breaking down, perhaps. So these inflammations and viruses and bacteria get into those very sensitive areas of your body. Please ask yourselves those questions. And if we want to heal inflammation right at the root of it, it's not as simple as just eating anti-inflammatory foods or having strategies that some smart person provides. It's not mental. The mind is just one aspect of the body, the spirit, and the mind. There are three aspects. Many more, in fact, but to simplify it, those are the three aspects. So if you look just for a strategy or some kind of regime, then you're never going to cure it totally. Of course, they will help if you can find anti-inflammatory foods. But really, we need to create anti-inflammatory lives. So let me indicate clearly what this means. Please take this to heart. Please write this down, because this is how you will cure it. Totally cure it. Breath. The breath. If you breathe consciously, then your anti-inflammatory resolves are strong as can be. If we continue to live each day by breathing unconsciously, totally unaware and unappreciative of the fact that if we didn't have oxygen from planet Earth, we'd be dead within 4 minutes. So the breath, first thing. Movement. Yeah. If you sit in an office chair for 8 hours a day and then go down to the bar, drink a lot, sleep badly, and then start again with the same regime the next day, you're not moving enough. And be careful with gyms, because gyms are fine, but trainers who advise you are really looking at one part of the ear of the elephant. They don't know about your lifestyle properly. Their obsession is exercise, and it can become really an obsession. So really, I don't advise going to the gym and getting someone to advise you what kind of exercises to do. Movement, yes, but not hyper movement, which most sports specialists lead you to believe is good by having all that expensive equipment around and so on. We don't need any of that. We don't need any of it. Stillness. Hope you're writing these down. Number 1, breath. Number 2, movement that liberates, not gym. Number 3, stillness. You need this wonderful, balanced blend of movement and stillness. And it's stillness that recalibrates your inner compasses. Number 4, truth that unbinds the nervous system. Yes, your nervous system is your absolute national treasure. But how often do you think about it? How often Do you try to understand it? And only the right kind of advice will allow you to really set it free and let it function normally and properly. And number 5, practices that anchor you back into your own sovereignty. Now, I write about this a lot. Personal sovereignty is very important to me. I'll explain in a moment. So jot those down. Your breath, number 1. Movement that liberates you, number 2. Number 3, stillness that recalibrates your inner compasses. Number 4, the truth about your body, and only your body knows this truth. The mind doesn't know truth at all. It lies, it is delusional. Very few benefits can be got from the mind. Number 5, practices that anchor you into your sovereignty. So all of these things are pointing towards the body as the main source of your cure. Yes. And as a somatic mentor, I can assure you that this is absolutely true. So yes, my invitation to you is to come and talk to me, because I've seen inflammation totally dissolve. I've witnessed it in my parents, in my partners, and so on, my siblings. It can utterly dissolve with just a few changes. And it's not just about supplements or protocols, but it's when you start to really live inside your body again. You spend so much of your time facing outwards. The visual world pulls us out. There are so many options, so many compelling things out there. We are tempted by shiny objects and so on. But in fact, if you can turn 180 degrees and look inside and rediscover the riches that you are already endowed with at birth, then your life will totally change. You're not going to fight anymore for survival or thriving. You're not going to need to override anything. All you need to do is turn 180 degrees and start to really listen into your inner universe. The truth is, we are unique beings. You may be similar to someone else, but that's not the truth. You are completely unique to anyone else. DNA is unique completely. Your fingerprints are completely unique. And that's why they're such a superb indicator of crime. They are completely unique. And so, although it's nice to have people who are similar, like-minded, supportive, and so on, at the end of the day, you are unique, and your inner resources are there waiting for you. In fact, I'll stick my neck out and say, everything you need to be truly happy, truly successful, is already inside you. It's a question of asking someone like me to help you access them, release them, so that you can start to use all of those resources which you just totally ignore. We can never be better than nature. We are born, the birth of a child is a struggle to get out of the birth canal. We find it difficult to become human. But because it's so difficult to be born human in the visible world, then we're given We're endowed with all the tools and all the wisdom we can ever need for our entire lifespan. But what do we do? At the age of 5, 4, we get conditioned. The layers of conditioning cover over all that originates with us, and we just go downhill rapidly, struggling, unhappy, sick, maybe. And all of this is completely unnecessary. To get this started, I created a product in May. I've been working with these ideas for many years, really, as a teacher with students, university students, groups, and retreats all over the world. But then I realized that people are short of time, and many people are too proud to admit that they are struggling. I'm learning that many companies, for example, have huge mental health funds allocated, but nobody is accessing them because people are too proud to admit that they are struggling mentally. So I decided to create Lodestone 1. Lodestone is a kind of natural magnetic rock. It's the precursor of the modern day compass. And inside your body, you have 4 very important compasses. If you want to know more about these, join me every Friday at 9 a.m. BST for Lodestone 1 Q&A. You can come, ask questions, learn about your inner compasses, and you can even come and join me in the studio. Let me know, and I'll give you a special link to come and join me. So Lodestone really is a 30-day embodied transformation. It tones the nervous system, heals stress at the root, and invites you back to your true nature. No diagnosis, no label, restoration. And we can do this without any other help. Just me guiding you. Okay. And you can find out about this in my Sovereign Health white paper, which is a very deep exploration of the body's intelligence and our birthright to health. You know, here in Japan, where I live, we now have several people who are well over 100 years old. And in fact, the other day, it was announced that a woman who is still working is 116 years old. We can live so much longer, but we can't do that if our body continues to be inflamed. So we need to tackle that as quickly as possible. And if you want to be a millionaire, which is what my audio podcast is all about, then you want to get successful. You can't be successful if your body is really in conflict with inflammation. It's at the body level, not the mind level. You don't need strategies. You need practice. You need to turn inwards. You need to really go back to your personal roots and access all the incredible resources you already have. So the future is anti-inflammatory. We're not meant to live in a battleground. We're meant to be gardens, beautiful, serene gardens. And we need to stop feeding the fire that burns inside us all and instead start listening to the soul. So if you want to know more about all this, please book a call with me. I can give you a free call for 20 minutes, and then we can give you some steps to take. Or you can join my events, which happen every Wednesday at 1 p.m. BST. And this week The event title is Resilience, which starts inside, not outside. And it's not in the mind, it's in the body. If you'd like to know more about that, please join me. And also, you can access my product, Lodestone 1, and start to practice on your own in the privacy of your own home or wherever, car or whatever. Nobody needs to know that you're struggling mentally, which so many people are. And we can get you started on really becoming inflammation free. The future is anti-inflammatory. And I can also recommend to you Zinzino, which is my partner company, which provides blood tests, home blood tests, so you can diagnose your inflammation level. And then you start to take balance oils, which immediately start to balance your heart. So come and talk to me. I can offer you many, many solutions. Thank you so much for joining me this weekend. Our guest, Andy Barker, I'm afraid didn't make it for some reason. I don't know why. And I'll, of course, invite him again. He has so much wisdom to share with us here. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next weekend for Our Way, Our Wealth. I'm Lyndon Thorpe. Thank you.